My name is Carla Ahlschwede, and I work for the Michigan DOT. And I'm going to talk about our vegetation management strategies and a little bit about our sunflower plots. See if we can actually advance my slides. Okay, there we go. So when you think about MDOT, you probably think a lot about road closures and road construction, which is very fair and very true. But I hope by the end of this presentation, you'll get a picture of MDOT that's a little bit more diverse. We aren't just the pavement surface, we are also facilities like rest areas and all of the roadsides, which is where I spend most of my time. A little bit about MDOT. MDOT roads include I routes, US routes, and M routes. So I-75, US 23, M22, those are all MDOT roads. We have over 10,000 miles of roads, and including the roads and the roadsides, that makes us one of Michigan's largest landowners. MDOT is divided up into 7 different regions with 26 transportation service centers. You can see in this map right here all the different regions of MDOT. We also, in the metro region here in Metro Detroit, which is Wayne, Oakland, and Macomb counties, we have about half of MDOT's roads, and about half of the funding for MDOT goes to the metro region. I just wanted to say a little bit about MDOT roads versus local roads. One of the things that I get most often from friends and family is, Carla, can you please make them plow my street better in the winter? And the answer usually is no. Most folks live on a local road, like a city street or a county road. And as I mentioned previously, MDOT roads are I routes, US routes, and M routes, and also things like business loops. MDOT properties also include park and rides and rest areas and roadside parks that many of you have probably used. Now I'm going to switch over to vegetation management. MDOT uses an integrated vegetation management process, which basically means we use a lot of different approaches. We don't just mow or just use herbicide. We try to do a bunch of different things, including selecting species to fit our needs, changing our mowing and herbicide spraying schedules, tree clearing, tree planting, all to work towards our goals. And our goals are to limit soil erosion and erosion of the road base. We also care a lot about maintaining clear zone and sight distances along roads. I'm sure we've all gone up to an intersection where there's a giant tree or a giant bush, and you have to roll past the stop sign or even into the intersection to see oncoming traffic. That's something we want to avoid. We also spend a lot of time removing and limiting fixed objects, which are trees. When people inevitably leave the roadsides, we don't want them to crash into a tree and potentially hurt or kill themselves. So we like to have grasses in the immediate area off the roadside. We also work to control and eradicate where possible invasive species and protect sensitive species like our threatened and endangered species. This diagram right here is kind of the ideal roadway. So you have the paved surface here, which is obviously what we think about when we think of roads. We usually have a gravel shoulder that we'd like to keep free of vegetation. There is also then usually a relatively high maintenance grassy area. Sometimes we allow shrubs coming up a little bit further off, usually about 20 feet or more off the roadway surface. And then further off, usually 30 to 50 feet off the road surface, we have a natural zone or a buffer zone. And that's where we usually kind of let nature take its course. Unless we have invasive species or something, we usually let trees and brushes grow up. Here's a pretty good picture of the different zones we have. We have this nice clear zone with healthy short turf, very easy to pull off the side of the road safely here. Then we have the lower maintenance or the operational zone with taller grasses, sometimes a couple shrubs. Again, there's nothing to hit should a car come off the roadway. And then finally, we have the natural zone or the buffer zone where we allow trees and brushes to grow up. I'm going to show you a couple different examples of our clear zone management. This is M22, and you can kind of see the same thing. We've got a little area of high maintenance, low turf. Then we go and transition into a little bit taller turf with some shrubs and then trees further back. This is I-75, and you can see the same kind of thing. Close to the road, the grasses are short. As you move back, they get a little bit taller and start to seed out. You can see a couple shrubs and small trees growing up back in here. And then eventually on both sides, both in the median and off the side of the road, we allow trees to grow up because they're far enough off the roadway. This is an example of the same principle on a loop ramp. You'll kind of notice here, we keep the vegetation short quite a ways off of the road so you can see around this curve, see any obstacles, fallen trees, heaven forbid other cars. And that's when we talk about sight distance, something we're very concerned about. Yet another example, this is Telegraph Road, and you can see both sides of the road have, again, that really short grass, mowed area, a little bit of a taller grass. There aren't really any shrubs in this photo, which is fine. And then finally back to the natural or buffer zone where we have trees on both sides. You'll also notice that the median is clear, and we usually do keep the medians mowed at either a low grass or sort of a medium operation depth. We don't usually let trees and brush grow up in the median unless the median is quite wide, as it was in the case with I-75 a couple slides back. Here's a couple of examples of things we don't want in our right-of-way. This picture right here is invasive knotweed, and you can see it poking through the asphalt. Knotweed is an issue for a lot of reasons, but for us, the potential to destroy pavement is kind of big. We also keep trees far back and brush far back because we don't want to have a situation like this where we have signs that are important to motorists being obscured by vegetation. So some of the tools that we use to complete our vegetation management include mowing, tree and brush removal, and herbicide application. Mowing is the vast majority of what we do, and it's our most important and most frequently used tool in vegetation management. Most areas of the state are usually mowed 3 times a year. The UP sometimes it's more like 2, but we do get multiple mowings in. And now we finally get to talk about the pollinator program. As Anna mentioned, pollinator populations have been in decline worldwide for a while, and habitat loss is a major driver of that. Roadsides happen to provide an opportunity to increase habitat, and it's really nice because sometimes our roadside safety needs are really compatible with pollinator habitat. We might not be able to have as many flowering trees in the right-of-way as other places, but we do have a lot of room in that medium maintenance operational zone for flowers. Our pollinator program focus is mostly to look at opportunities when we have road construction projects to plant more pollinator-friendly habitats. So this picture is along 696. We were continually struggling to have vegetation covered on this area. We were having erosion problems, which was sending sediment onto the freeway, and it was a dangerous situation. And so we actually did a partner program with MSU to see different combinations of forbs, mostly forbs and some grasses, that would work in a really urban, hot, salty environment. Most of the species we ended up selecting were brush bushes, but we also had some flowers in there. And so construction projects also give us opportunities to remove all dead trees, potentially remove undesirable species, and then plant in like flowering trees or more pollinator habitat. We also do special plantings. For example, we have a couple different prairie plantings at welcome centers. And rest areas are also another place that is an excellent opportunity to plant a lot of flowers. Many of you have probably been to a rest area and seen some of the plantings that we have there. We also are continually reevaluating our mowing and herbicide schedules. This is just because vegetation is constantly changing. New invasive species find their way to the state. New species are listed as threatened or endangered. And so we're always tweaking our different schedules, and that's part of the integrated vegetation management. And probably the most visible and most well-known part of our pollinator program is our sunflower plots. They were started in the Bay region, and if you remember from the very beginning of my presentation, I had the map. The Bay region is in the Saginaw Bay Thumb area, but it started in the Bay region in 2016. And every year it's grown. This year we're hoping to have probably actually a little bit more than 25 acres planted in sunflowers. We don't have all of our sites selected yet, actually. They will be in the Bay, Grand, and Southwest regions. So that means most of the lower peninsula, and then the southwest corner of the state. We're also going to be planting some new wildflower plots in Southwest and Bay regions, and we're hoping those will be as successful as the sunflower plots. Here's a map statewide of the sunflower plots that we've had in previous years. We don't have the ones in Southwest region mapped yet because we don't have them selected yet. We should be making those selections any day because we need to plant. So I'll advance this. So over here, these are the two in the Grand region. They are north of Rockford on US 131. The ones that most people who speak to me seem to be most familiar with are along 127 north of Mount Pleasant, and these are in this middle map. In this final map over here, we've got sunflower plots between Midland and Bay City. And then we also have one over here at a rest area near the Port Huron. So our methods for putting together these sunflower plots, we do our site prep in either the fall or the spring. Our site is treated with non-selective herbicide and then mowed. We have a no-till seeder that we use to plant the seeds. The site is then fertilized and treated with a pre-emergent herbicide. And the sunflowers begin to bloom about 60 days after planting, so they'll be showing up in late July, early August. And the cost per acre is about $600, and that includes all of the equipment, the herbicide, the seed, the fertilizer, and staff hours. So as far as things that MDOT does, and I'm thinking of multi-million-dollar construction projects, the sunflower plots are a very cheap, small part of our budget. These are some comments from our Facebook page that were posted when we added the sunflower plots north of Rockford. Like I mentioned before, the sunflower plots are really popular and really well known. We just get tons and tons of great feedback about these. People love them. There are a couple grumpy folks that say, why aren't you filling potholes? You should be doing that instead of planting flowers. Some people are grumpy. And like I mentioned before, as far as MDOT's budget goes, this is a very cheap thing to do, and it's incredibly beneficial. So some common questions we've gotten are, won't they attract deer? People are especially worried about these median plots like here. This one is on 127 north of Mount Pleasant. And we select a seed that is unpalatable to deer, and we haven't had any problems with deer going to the sunflower plots. Deer obviously cross the road all over the place all the time, but we haven't seen any special effect from the sunflower plots. I've gotten a lot of questions about whether they might increase pollinator death, because obviously crossing the freeway is dangerous for anyone, including insects. And unfortunately, there's just not much scientific data about that. I'm not aware of many studies that talk about insect death on the roadways. And we haven't done any studies on insect populations at our sunflower plots. If there happens to be a graduate student who's looking for a project online, get a hold of me because we would love to know more. Another common question is how much do they cost? And I mentioned that already. It's about $600 per acre. Wrapping up, I'm going to make a plug for a tool that we use a lot, and it's called driftwatch.org. If you have beehives or an organic farm, I would really encourage you to register with Driftwatch if you haven't already. Whenever our herbicide applicators leave and to go make an application, they check Driftwatch. And so if there happens to be an organic farm or somebody keeping bees next to one of our MDOT roads, we will turn off the sprayer 500 feet before and after the site to make sure that we don't get any drift or unnecessary any herbicide application out on those sensitive sites. It's the same buffer that we apply whenever we're near water. So I definitely encourage you to check them out. And I'll make a couple plugs for MDOT as well. Stay informed. We do a lot of construction, and it can really change the nature of your drive. This MDOT My Drive map is extremely useful. It tells you what current construction is going on in the state, as well as future construction that's upcoming. In the winter, you can also watch where the snow plows are and see all of the funny names. Let me think of one, like REO Snow Wagon is one of the funny names that they have. You can also check out the cameras that we place along different freeways, and so you can see road conditions before you drive. We're also on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram. So if you want lots of pictures of those sunflower plots, go ahead and follow us.